All right, so you're here because you really want to get better at understanding English, like when people are speaking, right? And I bet you're looking for ways to do that actually work, no wasting time.
Yeah, absolutely. You want efficient, smart strategies. That's what everyone wants.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We've gone through tons of advice from experts, really dug deep, and we've pulled out 10 of the most practical and effective strategies for boosting your English listening skills. Things you can start doing, like, right now.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about this deep dive. It's not just theory. It's all about giving you actual concrete steps you can take today. Even just a few minutes here and there can make a real difference.
Right. It's all about building that habit, even if it's small to start.
Absolutely. Consistency is key, like they say. We'll be focusing on those little things that really make a difference and how to fit them into your life without it feeling like, another thing on my to-do list.
I know, right? We've all got enough of those. Okay, so first up, and this might seem super obvious, but it came up over and over again in the research. Listen every single day.
Seriously, every single day.
Every single day. It sounds simple, but the experts really emphasize this. Like, they hammered it home, even short bursts. Even just 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a big difference over time. It's like anything. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
It's like building a muscle, right?
Exactly. It's all about getting your brain used to the sounds of English, the rhythm, the flow, and, starting with material that you feel comfortable with at your level.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like if you're just starting out, maybe slow English podcasts.
Yeah, or those children's audiobooks. They usually speak really clearly.
Right. Or you could check out something like BBC Learning English. They have resources for beginners. The main thing is just making it a regular part of your routine.
And the idea isn't to stay with those beginner materials forever, right?
Of course not.
The goal is to gradually challenge yourself. So as you get more comfortable, maybe you move on to listening to native English speakers, having conversations, documentaries, things like that.
Interviews, podcasts, all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. And you know what else was interesting? A lot of the experts talked about the importance of enjoying what you listen to.
Oh yeah, that makes a huge difference.
It really does. Like whether it's music or sports commentary or even like motivational speeches or true crime podcasts, whatever gets you hooked.
Yeah, if you enjoy it, you're way more likely to stick with it. Right.
For sure, for sure. Okay, strategy number 2 focuses on how we use subtitles.
Ooh, subtitles.
Yeah.
So helpful, but also so tempting to rely on.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about using them strategically, not as a crutch.
Right, like a tool, not a permanent solution.
Totally.
Right.
And they had this really clear 3-step process. So, step 1, watch something without any subtitles at all. Just try to get the main idea, what's going on. Don't worry about catching every word.
Okay, so first just get the gist.
Exactly. Then, step 2, turn on the English subtitles and watch it again. This is where you can go back and figure out those bits you missed and see how the words are actually spelled.
Oh, that's a good point. Connecting the spoken word with the written form.
Right. And maybe pick up some new vocab along the way.
Cool, so it's like a comprehension check.
Exactly. Then step 3, watch it one more time, but again with no subtitles.
So you can really see how much you picked up.
Exactly. And, some of the sources talked about using bilingual subtitles, like English subtitles with your native language.
Oh yeah, like a stepping stone.
Yeah, especially if you're finding it really tough at first. But the goal is to eventually be able to understand without them at all.
Got it. So they're training wheels, essentially.
Exactly. Oh, and they also recommended some great YouTube channels like TED Talks, BBC Learning English.
English Addict with Mr. Steve is another one. They all have really good subtitles.
Right. But the main takeaway was not to become too reliant on them. They're there to help you learn, not to do the work for you.
Makes sense. So what's the next strategy?
This one is all about watching movies and TV shows in English. It's a really fun way to learn, right?
Totally. I mean, who doesn't love a good movie night?
Right. And again, they said to choose something that's a good fit for your level.
So like for beginners, maybe animated movies.
Yeah, great idea. Or sitcoms with simpler dialogue, like Friends, for example.
A classic. If you're more intermediate, maybe dramas, reality shows.
Travel documentaries are really interesting too.
Oh, for sure. And for the more advanced learners, maybe fast-paced movies or crime series.
Yeah, or even like political debates.
Ooh, that's a challenge.
It is. But, they also said to really actively engage with what you're watching. Like if there's a scene you don't understand, watch it again.
Yeah, rewind and repeat.
Exactly. Or pause it and try to repeat what they said to practice your pronunciation. You could even try speaking along with the characters.
Like you're part of the scene.
Haha, exactly. It helps you get a feel for the rhythm and the intonation of English. And, they also said if you're using subtitles, make sure they're in English.
Right, so you're not just relying on the translation.
Exactly. And they said to be careful about using auto-translations because they can sometimes be really inaccurate.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty funny ones.
For sure. Okay, so strategy number 4 might surprise you. It's all about listening to different English accents.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that before.
Yeah, it's something that people don't always realize, but there are so many different ways that English is spoken around the world.
Right, it's not just like one standard accent.
Exactly, and if you're only used to hearing one type of accent, it can be really hard to understand others.
That makes sense. It's like learning a new language almost.
Kind of. So they recommend trying to listen to podcasts and videos from different English-speaking regions.
Oh, that's a good idea. Like for British English, maybe BBC News or the Guardian podcasts.
Those are great ones. For American English, you could try NPR or TED Talks.
And what about Australian English?
ABC News Australia is good, or the Aussie English podcast.
Cool. Lots of options.
There are. Oh, and there are even videos on YouTube called Accent Challenge videos.
Accent Challenge.
Yeah, it's where they play different accents side by side. It's kind of fun.
I'll have to check that out. Okay, so the next strategy is all about active listening.
Ah, yes. Active listening. This is a really important one. It's more than just, hearing the sounds. It's about really paying attention and understanding what's being said.
Right, like actively engaging with the material.
Exactly. And they contrasted it with what they called passive listening, which is where you might hear the words, but you're not really thinking about what they mean.
Like when you have the TV on in the background, but you're not really watching.
Yeah, exactly. Active listening is about concentrating, trying to anticipate what the speaker might say next, maybe even jotting down some notes to help you focus.
So it's a more focused approach.
Yes, definitely. And they suggested these steps. First, listen to a short audio clip, then pause it and try to repeat the key phrases out loud.
Okay, so you're actively recalling what you heard.
Exactly. Then write down what you understood from that clip. And finally, listen to it again and compare what you wrote with what was actually said.
So you can see where you might have misunderstood.
Right. They said news podcasts are really good for this because they're usually pretty clear and well-structured.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like BBC News or NPR, The Economist audio edition.
All good options. Okay, strategy number 6 is a really practical one. It's all about using podcasts and audiobooks to learn English on the go.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. It's so convenient.
Right, you can listen while you're commuting, exercising, doing chores, whatever.
Multitasking at its best.
For sure. And you know what else? A lot of podcasts designed for English language learners actually explain the vocabulary and the pronunciation as they go.
Oh, that's so helpful.
It is. They even had some specific recommendations based on your level. So for beginners, they suggested the British Council Learn English podcast.
What about intermediate level?
They said the American English podcast is good for that level. And for more advanced learners, they recommended things like the Joe Rogan Experience or BBC Global News, although those are probably a bit more challenging.
Yeah, less structured, faster paced.
Right, but they stress the importance of choosing topics that you're interested in.
Yeah, otherwise it just feels like homework.
Exactly. Make it fun. Okay, have you ever heard of the shadowing technique?
Shadowing? I think I've heard of it, but I'm not sure exactly what it is.
It's really cool. It's where you listen to a native English speaker and you try to repeat what they're saying at the same time.
Well, like you're their shadow.
Exactly. You try to copy their rhythm, their pronunciation, their intonation, everything.
Wow, that sounds intense. What are the benefits of doing that?
Well, the experts said it can really help you process spoken English faster.
Because you're forced to keep up.
Exactly. And it helps you improve your own pronunciation because you're actively trying to make the same sounds.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's good for both listening and speaking.
Exactly. It even helps with your fluency because you get a better sense of the natural flow of the language.
So how do you actually do it?
So, first you pick a short audio clip or video like a TED Talk or a news report, something like that.
Okay, Gavin.
Then you just start listening and repeating, trying to match the speaker as closely as you can. They even said it's a good idea to record yourself doing it.
So you can compare and see how you're doing.
Exactly. You can hear the areas where you need to improve. They said to start with slower material and then gradually increase the speed.
And remember, you can always slow down the playback speed on YouTube.
Right. It's a great tool for this. Okay, now strategy number 8 is all about actually speaking with native English speakers.
Oh, the real deal.
Yes. This is where you really get to put your listening skills to the test.
Because you have to understand and respond in real time.
Exactly. They recommended looking for opportunities to chat with people in English.
So like language exchange apps, right?
Yeah, those are great. HelloTalk, Tandem, Speaky, they all let you connect with native speakers who are learning your language.
That's a cool concept. What about in person?
You could join an English conversation group, either online or in person.
I've heard those can be really fun.
They are. And even if you don't have anyone to talk to, you can still practice by talking to yourself in English.
Talking to myself. That sounds a little crazy.
Maybe a little. But it does help. You could describe your day or summarize a movie you watched, anything to get comfortable with speaking.
Makes sense. And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Exactly. Plus, you get to hear different speaking styles and maybe even pick up some slang.
Oh, that's a good point. It's not all about textbook English.
Right. Okay, strategy number 9 is all about language learning apps.
There are so many of them out there.
I know, it can be overwhelming. But they mentioned a few specifically, like BBC Learning English, LSA Speak, and LingQ.
What are those like?
They all have different features, but they all offer exercises to help you with your listening. Some of them have interactive transcripts, so you can read along with the audio.
Well, that's helpful.
And they also let you slow down the audio without changing the pitch of the voice.
That's a lifesaver.
Right, it makes it so much easier to understand. They said it's good to try different types of exercises within the apps, not just listening.
So like video, text, audio.
Exactly. Mix it up to keep things interesting. Okay, last but definitely not least, strategy number 10 is all about patience and consistency.
So important, but so hard sometimes.
I know, right? It can be really frustrating when you feel like you're not making progress. But the experts were really clear about this. They said living a language takes time.
You can't expect to become fluent overnight.
Right, it's a journey. But they said consistent effort, even if it's just a little bit each day, will pay off in the long run.
It's like the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Love it. They also suggested tracking your progress, maybe by re-listening to clips that you found difficult before.
Let's see if you understand them better now.
Exactly. Or you could keep a vocabulary journal and review it regularly.
That's a great idea.
And maybe set yourself some listening goals, like 30 minutes a day or something like that.
Whatever works for you.
Right. And most importantly, they said to celebrate your successes, even the small ones.
Like understanding a whole conversation without having to ask someone to repeat themselves.
Exactly. Those are the moments that keep you motivated.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question. Think about all these different strategies we've talked about. Which ones feel like they would work best for you?
Yeah, which ones really resonate with your learning style and your goals?
We really encourage you to pick one or two and give them a try. See how they work for you. Remember, even a little effort each day can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Because when you can truly understand spoken English, it opens up so many doors.
It's like a whole new world of communication and connection, and information too.
Exactly. And we know you can do it. Now, one last thought to leave you with. Have you ever considered how becoming a better listener might benefit other areas of your life, beyond just your English skills?
That's something to think about.
Yeah, something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.
See you then.